Okay, guys, we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Stoner podcast, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about the fallout from Fabio Wardley versus Justice Huni. This fight happened at the time of recording this last night, but this video might come out a few days from now at the Ipswich Stadium. And to be honest, it's hard to even provide like a really in-depth breakdown for this fight because, for the most part, Justice Huni was outboxing Fabio Wardley for the entire fight. And then Fabio Wardley lands a big punch and knocks him out. That's really it. Fabio Wardley, in terms of boxing ability, really sort of got found out in this fight, in my opinion. It feels like Fabio Wardley's really found his level, and Justice Huni was, like I said, outboxing him, right? And Justice Huni will be very annoyed that he didn't win that fight. Because that was a 10th round stoppage, and if he was able to go just a few more rounds, he would have, swept Fabio Wardley on the cards. So he'll be really annoyed with himself that he couldn't win that fight. Maybe they'll do a rematch because, like I said, Justice Huni comprehensively outboxed Fabio Wardley for that entire fight. The entire fight, Justice Huni looked more switched on, was setting up his punches more, was getting in, was getting out, moving about the ring, showed far better ring craft than Fabio Wardley. Like I said, Justice will be really annoyed he couldn't win that fight. Fabio Wardley, on the other hand, caught life. You know what I mean? I really hate this saying, oh, a lucky punch, because what is a lucky punch? Did Fabio Wardley not mean to throw that punch? Of course he did. He threw that punch to knock him out. So it's not really a lucky punch, but of course it's lucky in the sense of if that punch didn't land, if that punch didn't knock out Justice Huni, he would have lost that fight. So lucky in that sense, but not necessarily a lucky punch. But it's really interesting what happens now. I think that was for a WBA interim heavyweight title. So he's got that now. He's got that to his name. A huge accolade for Fabio Wardley, and that really pushes him up in the division and puts him at that sort of level. So it's good for Fabio Wardley. What's next for him? I don't know because, like I said, he really got found out, in my opinion, in this fight. Similar to the Fraser Clark fight, where Fraser Clark was demonstrating the better ring craft, was showing better boxing IQ, setting up his punches, moving about more, and then got caught. Very similar to that fight, in my opinion. Very similar to the Fraser Clark fight, where he just ended up getting caught, right? You couldn't be slick enough for the full, length of the fight, and you couldn't beat Fabio Wardley. But Fabio Wardley's got another win on his record, another highlight reel knockout, and actually went a bit further than what I originally anticipated. I thought Fabio Wardley would maybe knock him out in the 7th round, but he went a few rounds extra. And like I said, if Justice Huni was able to get to the distance, to get to that 12th round, he would have dog-walked him and won that fight easily. Yeah. Fabio Wardley's got a few options now, though, because he's at interim world title level now. So he's going to be looking near the top of the division. He's going to be looking at your Usyks, your Joseph Parkers, your Caballels, your Daniel Dubois, of course, your Anthony Joshua's, your Tyson Furies, even though Tyson Fury's retired. I really don't fancy him against any of those guys, though, to be honest. I really don't fancy him against any of those guys because he's almost like a smaller version of Daniel Dubois. Like, I said this on the when I was on Boxing Bros UK, shout out to those guys. I said that when I was on there, Fabio Wardley's basically just like a smaller version of Daniel Dubois, right? But there's some interesting fights for Fabio Wardley there, some big paydays, no doubt. If he can get a world title fight, if he could get maybe the winner of Usyk and Dubois too, I think it's unlikely because he's really not at that level. If he could fight a Joseph Parker, again, Joseph Parker would outbox Fabio Wardley quite comprehensively. The real question is, could Fabio Wardley stop him? That's the real question. And that's really the question with anyone once Fabio Wardley's at this sort of level. Pretty much everyone that he's going to face from this point onwards is probably going to be able to outbox him. But can he land a big shot on them? Can he? I don't know. He did against Justice Huni. He did against Fraser Clark. Can he do it against the other top contenders in the heavyweight division? I don't know. But we'll find out. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.